in shape working.
Right. All right. So I got Brian Swift back on the podcast, and we've got some stuff to talk about. I want to, we talked about it off the podcast, but I want to go through it in detail because I'm going to do this ride that you've got going on March 28th, and I'm going to be hitting people up for sponsors. I don't know what is the, like, if someone's sponsor, it's one day only, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
It's actually probably even a half a day. I'd love to see everybody try to get out and ride. Obviously, we've got people in different parts of
We
the
don't get a
country.
monsoon that day
So
or something
yeah, I
crazy?
mean, I got people in Texas, people in Florida, people in Georgia that have jumped on board and want to help raise funds for SOAR, and they love being outside, which is what SOAR's about, getting people outdoors, and they love exercising. So we're kind of combining it, SOAR outdoors, and everybody can go at their own pace. So if somebody wants to use a hand cycle, they can do that. If somebody wants to use a wheelchair, they can do that. If somebody wants to use therapeutic trike, they can do that. So we're not limiting it. It's just about getting
So I could just
outdoors.
army crawl if I want to?
Go for it, man. If you want to, if it's outdoors, I'd say giddy up. So we just want to get people out and have them push themselves. And when I say push themselves, I don't mean.
Let's explain what so people understand what SOAR actually does. Now, SOAR is Brian's nonprofit situation, and what they do is you provide equipment.
We provide equipment, grants, collaboration to get people back outdoors, and everybody's
people that are in chairs, people that are handicapped, right?
Yes.
So, when I first got injured, I was taken on a camping trip that, for me, I didn't need like the extra push, right? I was always out doing stuff anyway. I was trying to figure out ways that I could get hunting. I could do whatever I could do. I was taking my kids fishing. But it was kind of terrific. When we went and did it, they had a guy that brought bikes out, a guy that for handicapped guys, so hand bikes, and so it was like just I don't know if they called it an incumbent bike or not.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're sitting in a seat. They had they got the one that's like real low to the ground. That's like the sport model. Then they got the one that looks like you're just in a big tricycle.
Yes.
Riding it, sort of deal. And for a guy like me, I was told the tricycle thing is pretty much where you're going to go, just because I can manage that myself to transfer into it and stuff.
Yeah.
Where the one that's on the ground, I'm never going to, unless I got a group of people to pick me up and throw me back in my chair, it's not going to happen. So on this camping trip, they had camping, which they, helped you set up your tent and everything else, set up your little camp. They provided food and everything else, which was nice just to get out and be in the outdoors like that. Then they had a guy showed up with a big truck trailer full of bikes, and they would, hook you up and Velcro your hands if you needed them to the pedals of your hand bikes. And then they had another guy that brought a whole thing of kayaks, and they didn't know what to do with me because I was like one of the only quads there, a bunch of paras there, which they just grabbed. All they got to do is get their ass in that kayak and go. And for me, they duct taped my hands to the paddle, and I went.
And if you didn't have outriggers, which I tried to kayak, and with our lack of balance, once
tough.
you hit waves,
Yeah.
I know for me, I was done.
Right.
I mean, I was out of the kayak real quick.
Sure. And then with the third thing they had was rock climbing. So they set up this thing on a cliff, and it was really just a ratchet system. But the guy that's paralyzed, you worked the ratchet. So you were like, and you were up. It wasn't technically rock climbing, but I think we went up like 30 or 40 feet up this side of the thing. And you got a good view, and it was nice to be out doing this sort of thing. You were harnessed in. If you're a rock climber, you're harnessed in for the most part, unless you're one of these wackadoos that are climbing free climbing guys. But so it was awesome. And I want to say all those things were nonprofit sort of situations. So they put this on. Now, when people need to understand that there's administrative cost in nonprofit. So it takes people's time. It takes, like I fully expected the guy that brought the kayaks to make all the gas money back and make money for his time for the day being there. Because what he also does is he rents kayaks in Chicago to able-bodied people. That's his business.
And camps like you went to are thriving out there. And one of them that we're in contact with is called Camp Possibilities. They do exactly that. And the average person who comes costs them approximately $4,500. That's the cost of having helpers. That's the cost of bringing in the kayaks, the cost of bringing in the guy with
Sure.
with the rock climbing, the cost of insurance. They have to insure themselves.
Right.
So all these, there are costs that do have to be covered. Again, not that they're looking to make a profit, but they have to at least cover their costs so that next year comes around, they can get out maybe 20% more people.
Well, if a guy can't even feed himself while doing something, then he can't come back next year and do it because he's dead. He didn't eat.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm all for a guy being able to sustain himself and provide the service because, people out there that are not paralyzed, they're not disabled in any way. They get depression just from wintertime being sitting around,
Exactly.
not doing anything. So then you take somebody who, the funny thing about the paralyzed crowd is we're generally some of the most active people out there because that's how we got paralyzed. Most of us were, skiing, skydiving, playing football, doing construction. So
Right.
I was a guy that if there was a rain day before I was injured, I would just pace the floor. I was an absolute mad. You can't keep me. And then I think I went 8 months or 9 months when I first got paralyzed with no car. So the only time I got to get out was when someone picked me up and took me out.
I went
somewhere.
years until I got, and I stayed busy and had a lot of support, but you go nuts. I mean,
Well, right.
that
If depression
lack of
is a
independence
right,
after a
if
while.
depression is a thing for people who are able-bodied, you got to multiply that by something because you're literally a prisoner in your own body, a prisoner in this chair. I mean, there's, we had you on the podcast the last time we talked about being paralyzed, and I think that there's things that people. I had a guy look at me one time and said, "Well, so what? You have to sit in a chair now." He goes, "I don't mind sitting in a chair." And I go, "You know what? That's not it." With my kids, I can't hug them the same as I could if I was up doing. Before I was paralyzed, I used to take my kids and throw them in the air and catch them and all that other stuff. None of that stuff. You can't be close enough to people. If you go to a sporting event, like when I go to a wrestling tournament, all the parents are sitting up in the stands.
Yeah, and you're separated.
I'm separated from them. You go somewhere and they've got. I used to take an outing of 30 people to a White Sox game, and they would only let 4 people sit in the handicap seats, and then everybody else is down in the seats. So
it's
there's
a
isolation.
constant battle.
Right.
It's everything you do is a battle. Even
Yeah.
the good stuff you do, even to get to a game, as you just explained, it's a battle. The parking, it's a battle because somebody's going to ultimately park next to you. And I used to go out with my kids that were 3 and 5 years old. They had to learn. I had my 6, 7-year-old, whatever he was. I taught he had to learn how to back my van out in case somebody parked next to me.
Yeah.
And I was out. But
Yeah.
it is 100% a blood sport being in a wheelchair.
Now,
no doubt.
I have had people say dumb things like, well, at least you get the good parking spot and stuff like that. It's like, I'll trade you anytime you'd like.
Yeah.
If you want the good parking spot, you can have that. I'll just walk around. Thanks. I'm not a guy that ever watched Curb Your Enthusiasm, but I have this season. The last episode was he got himself a parking placard, and they he grabs JB Smoove, and they just run around doing all the goofy things you would do if you had a parking placard, busy places, and they get to park up front and everything else. It was actually pretty funny.
But to a point you brought up earlier, and I agree that most of us got hurt being active. The shame of it is, and this is why we started SOAR, was that they lose that enthusiasm for life. So many lose that enthusiasm.
You lose it. You're forced to lose it because you can't just pick up and go.
Nope.
And then you're dependent on other people. Some of the really bonuses that I saw to the camping trip stuff was people were able to bring their families, and then their families had a good time. There's all kinds of time that your family is put. Like I said, I want to do a podcast with your wife because there's a family aspect to this that it's a drag. You're slowing us down. We can't go where we want to go. We can't ride the rides we want to ride. All this stuff goes on. So it's nice to have activities that there's not a drag,
Totally agree.
My boys have never known me any other way. So they know, oh, Dad needs me to throw my chair in the back of the car or whatever like that. They're almost kind of used to it. But I think if they were hit with it when they were 15, they'd be maybe rebel a little bit. Be like, oh, I got to freaking take care of this guy.
Probably.
I don't like taking care of a guy in a wheelchair, let alone, and I'm the guy in the wheelchair. So I can imagine that there's times where everybody's not perfect. So, you got to be like, all right, I'm sick of having to do this thing for this guy. The camping trips and stuff like that, the kayaking, at least it's a vacation, it's a break, it's a
Yes,
thing to go do
exactly.
something fun with your family and
Right.
stuff. And if you find something, one of the sponsors for the bike thing was a bike shop that sold all the bikes. That makes sense, right? Because then
Exactly.
someone will come in and be like, you know what, I really want to do that and everything else. And I seriously mulled over buying a bike. The hardest thing was, like you had said earlier, how do you get it somewhere?
Yeah, exactly. It is a trick. It does. There's no way that single-handedly you could get that in even a van.
Right. Well, I got a friend of mine who, so my goal, and I haven't said anything except for to Brian, is Mantino does a triathlon that is a 3 mile, I believe it's a 3 mile run, a 1/4 mile swim, and an 11 mile bike ride.
Correct. It's called a sprint.
Right. And I want to do all three. I want to try. I mean, I know it's going to be a bear, but I want to do all three, and I want to do. So I got somebody that's got a connection with a bike guy, and they're going to see if they've got something that they could fit me out with. My two sons, they're wrestlers. They just pick me up and throw me anywhere they want, like literally anywhere they want to go. I just had the one here the one time, and he was like, they bought a little boat for the lake. And they're like, do you want to go? And I go, well, we better wait till your brother gets here and you can get my ass down there. He was like, and he picked me right up over his shoulder and carried me down the steps and put me in the boat, and I was good to go.
Well, plus you're here by the lake, so you will be able to. And I would recommend get in the lake, practice the swimming. It doesn't sound like it's a long swim, but I've done it the last 3-4 years. 1/4 mile swim is not an easy task.
I bet.
I mean, and I swim on my back.
And that's exactly where I was going for
I
sure.
swim on my back. It'll zap you.
Yeah, I was coming up with a strategy, and I also came up with a strategy. You said something about wheelchair boxing, and I think I've got a strategy for that too.
I exercise with my kids. They put on boxing gloves, and I just work at blocking them. And we went. I did this yesterday actually, and I think we went for about 2 minutes, and I was dying. And I'm thinking 2 minutes. I mean, you watch these guys, and I've done it. I'm guilty. My God, they're only in there 3 minutes. I mean, how many? I went
No,
2
no,
minutes.
right.
Wow. With 30 seconds in between, I'm telling you,
Right.
you got to be in unbelievable shape. And to get hit, I mean, I didn't get hit. Or if I got hit a little bit, he had big 2-pound gloves on. These guys, God bless them. I don't know how they do it.
Yeah, I boxed a little bit, and it's amazing. You want to throw up after a period or two. And some of it is also, if you're in a combat sport, you tense up a little bit when you're a little bit nervous with what's going to go on, and then that doesn't work for your breathing, and then you end up even more fatigued and everything else.
Exactly.
But so I've got a strategy for that one.
Good.
If my boys just pitch me in the lake, whatever, I'll go for that. I have gone to wrestling tournaments and then hit the pool, and to see what I could do, like did circles in the pool, just trying to, and I would make it a little harder on myself as far as like the hotel goes. There'd be a wrestling tournament in Battle Creek, and then I would get 2 towns away from there, get the hotel, because then there's no one at the hotel. Because
Right.
being a guy
Oh.
in a chair in the pool, I don't need 30 kids in there with me. Like, that's not going to work out. But I did all right. Like, I was pretty good with swimming like that. And before the injury, I was definitely a guy that swam all the time. I was in the water. But I don't know if you've had somebody that's done all three that's been paralyzed before.
I not here for the Mantino one.
Okay.
I tried to get a team together last year to see if somebody wanted to do the bike and somebody wanted to do the run and somebody separate the swim. But like you, my first year, I had my one son do the ride,
Yeah.
the bike ride, the 11-mile bike ride, and I had my other son do the 3-mile run, and then I did the 1/4 mile swim.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I could do the 3-mile run in my wheelchair, in the swim. The 11-mile bike and it's not because it's 11 miles, it's the hill going over
80,
I-57.
57, yeah,
that
right.
everybody talks about it. Even these guys that are,
On bikes. Yeah, are like able-bodied
they're
guys on
on,
bikes.
$4,000 bikes. They've done Ironman. They've done half marathons and marathons. They say that hill is,
Right.
it'll burn you.
Yeah.
But no,
right.
we're a lot of like the challenge is.
Yeah, I just want to see.
It's about the
And
challenge.
I don't really, I used to get in a lot of fights when I was younger, and failure. I think that I was tougher because I didn't care about failure. Like if I could take damage, whatever. Like we'll just see what happens. Like it's gonna heal. Like this is what happens. If I failed to get over the 57 thing, well then I failed. Whatever what I'm gonna do.
No,
But
I'd rather try. And like
absolutely.
like
I know there's no way that I could do it in the chair. Like I can't do 3 miles and then add another 11 to it. There's no way. I'm gonna attempt for your March 28th thing with the fundraiser. My goal is to not goal. I know I can do. I've done 10 miles before, but I'm gonna get at least 10 miles in that day. So if I was to get sponsors, is it sponsored by the mile that they do?
right, however they want. Most people end up just giving a certain dollar amount.
Just a donation.
So, yeah, a donation, and we will all have the same link to donate to the same place. So that's good. We'll get that out on Facebook. We'll get that out on email to people who aren't on Facebook. But it's just about supporting people with disabilities and us being able to continually help other people get out. Whether that get out is sitting by a campfire, whether it's out hunting, whether it's out skiing, whether it's just sitting by a bonfire, as we've all been through, it's not easy. And the more you get out, as you've lived, the more you get out, the more life opens up. The more life opens up, the more you're willing to attack it. The more you're willing to attack it, the easier it is to kind of deal with and cope with. And I think being out, getting people outdoors definitely helps them cope and deal with our daily.
I think there's an added thing to what you're doing because I'd go camping. I've gone camping with my kids. Just go camping. So we would hitch the pontoon boat, take it down to Lake Shelbyville, whatever. Hit a campground, and we're camping, right? I got a big van, pontoon boat on the back. We got all the camping gear in there. I can camp. What you're doing is you're making camping accessible, which makes it even better for a guy that's paralyzed because, it's nice if you're somewhere where things are made so that you can use them and things are like taking, the trip that I went on camping was up at the Mississippi, it's like there's some kind of, it was like north and obviously west to the Mississippi River, but it was like the Mississippi Palisades or something like that. And it was a lot of parking lot that they were utilizing. And then the campground gave us a parking lot. So like, we're going to like not let people use this. So then when you were like getting food, like they set up the tents for all that stuff on pavement. So then you could just bust around. You could do everything you wanted to do.
Sure.
Then we were out there. I can't throw a football, but I can catch one. So like I'd catch the football and then hand it off to the guy next to me and he'd launch it and then, the guy would throw it and I would catch it. And that was fun. It was great to get out and do things that you hadn't done. I keep my sanity in the wintertime by, my schedule is I did 8 miles this morning at the mall. Now that's my workout for today. I'm done. But tomorrow I'll hit a workout in my manual chair out in my gym and then it's 3 days of working out. So I'll do pec deck with that. I'll do flies where I'm lifting the weights out to my side. And then I'll do tricep extensions in the gym from this chair. Then the next day I'll be in a power chair that lays flat. I'll do the 3 different sets of bench press. So I'll do like an incline, flat, and a decline. And then I'll do skull crushers, just free weights on a curl bar. And then I pull up to a bench where I've got some dumbbells and I'll do military press. I grab my armrest because I don't have trunk control and I'll press a dumbbell over my head to do military press and then I switch hands and go this way. The bad thing about me is my symmetry is so bad. So like I can press 16 times a 40-pound dumbbell on this side, but it's a 15 on this side. Triceps just aren't there. Like I just don't have them, So, and I mean, I focus more on form and stuff because I could cheat it and grab this thing and yank myself and throw this thing and do all this weird shit. But that's not working the muscles. So, so I go 3 days of lifting, then a day of cardio where I go for 2.5 hours to get my 8 miles, and then I'm right back to lifting again. Now, I go 7 days a week because my job before I was injured was general contractor. Every day I lifted shit. Every day I did stuff like that. If I don't do that, I feel like I'm getting fat. I feel like I'm, sort of thing. And then I eat pretty healthy anyway. Like this morning it was like 2 eggs. I mean, I wouldn't say it's Like I'm not eating celery or any shit like that. Like I'm eating 2 or 3 eggs and some sausage, 2 or 3 eggs and some bacon. I haven't had a donut in 15 years. And I stay pretty thin as far as that goes.
Yeah, you have.
You know, but that's a job. I'm positive that if I just ate whatever the fuck I wanted to eat and spent maybe months where I didn't do shit, I could probably get big, like no problem.
Gaining weight's a problem. I'm one of those problem people. I used to be much thinner, but
Now you look like you get around pretty good. And how old are you?
I'm 58.
58, right? So you got 10 years on me.
And
I'm 48.
40 years in the wheelchair.
Right. Right.
No, I've been blessed. But,
I would say you've been. I see people that are in really, like you were talking about your, elbows getting a little worn out. There's people that have shoulder replacements and everything else because a hip is a joint that's made for you to walk on. A shoulder's not.
It's not meant to be weight bearing.
Right.
And that's
And
what we have to do, transferring,
Yep, absolutely.
pushing your wheelchair. It's all weight bearing.
Right.
So.
I can't even imagine. I should one time try and I have the focus of a squirrel, so I can't do it. But when I'm doing my miles, like I said, I usually have a podcast that's German in my ear, so I'm listening to German conversations because I speak some German, and it just sharpens me up. It's like 2.5 hours of listening, immersing myself in that. But there are times when I'm doing those miles and I forget that I'm listening to that, and like I've started thinking about other shit and it's gone. But I should one time count like how many pushes it is for me to go a mile, because the repetitive motion is probably terrible as far as that goes. What I try and do is like they got baseball pitchers that they've learned that doing the opposite motion with a weight helps reduce the damage that you're doing, because they're overdeveloping the front of their shoulder and underdeveloping.
Push your wheelchair backwards.
Yeah, I try that, but I don't roll anti-tippers. And if I bump into anything, phew, I'm right over.
Yeah, I have the anti-tippers. I can't, rolling backwards, though, that will work the crap out of your triceps. And it really does help with the pain. Because, as you said, you're strengthening that back part that you're not doing.
Yeah, pulling the other way. My other issue is that, like, when I'm pushing forward, my back's against the backrest. So, like, I'm getting something to propel against. When I'm pulling this way, like, I got to constantly be, like, throwing my head back to keep this thing going. The whole wheelchair thing, it's a huge pain in the ass. I've had, I do all right with girls. And I get something that talk to me and we go out and stuff. And then they say something like, I would date you. And I'm like, why? I don't want to date me. Like this is not fun. Like
maybe they want the good parking spot. I don't know.
Yeah, right. Maybe that's it. But I still look at it like for me, it's still funny. Like and you've been in there. I'm 17 years and you're 40. You said.
Yes.
I still roll by a full length mirror and go, oh, what'd you do? Look what you did.
I don't like looking at myself.
Oh no. I'm cocky as far as. My mentality goes. Like, I look at things from a viewpoint of, if someone doesn't understand that because I'm doing everything I'm doing from a wheelchair, I'm better than you, then you don't get it. Because I'm doing everything you're doing and I'm busting around a damn wheelchair and doing it. So if I'm beating you at anything, you got problems. That sort of thing. So I'm cocky in that respect. But otherwise, like, yeah, I know my limitations. I had a guy, a wrestling coach one time, challenge me to a fight. And I was like, I'm going to bite you, right? And he's like, don't be using that chair as an excuse. And I go, I won't. I'm going to lose this fight, but you're going to get a chunk missing somewhere. So, like, I know my limitations as far as that goes. And then there's times where I don't. I'm busting down a sidewalk. I don't realize that the curb cutout's no good, and I launch myself into the thing. You said you broke your...
Broke both femurs.
Yeah.
And in not doing anything spectacular, I don't have a good story for that. I just love being out, and it just was a freak thing. And after 40 years, my bones are a little weak. But that's cost me 4 months in a hospital bed because they couldn't put pins in them. They couldn't put casts on them.
I could not.
They couldn't. Yeah. All the things they couldn't do was to heal them, and they couldn't do any of it. So I basically had to sit in bed with soft casts on and opening and closing them about every 4 hours so you didn't get complications.
Now, have you had X-ray since?
Yeah.
And did everything go back together the right way?
Wow. Yeah, they said your legs aren't straight, and that bothered me like not at all. As I told him, I'm not looking at walking right now. I just
right.
don't need complications. I want to figure out how to heal as quick as I can, as fast as I can, the best I can, without complications. And you know, knock on wood and God bless, I didn't have any complications, with the exception of probably a kidney stone or two from being so sedentary and having to lay around. So, but you know what? As my dad says, that builds character. I mean, you get through it, you figure it out,
Sure.
you deal with it, and you move on.
When I first got paralyzed, girl I was dating, she would set me up with all these. Some of them were just goofy, like surveys and stuff like that. But I was taking all these tests where I would go in and they would like test my spasms. And I would go to RIC and they put me in the robot and then like test things and stuff like that. They'd pay you $100 a day. And some of the tests, some of the tests were pretty cool. Like they'd send a fucking car out, like a limo, to come get me. And it was just a
Wow.
Cadillac, you know what I mean, car.
Sure.
But the guy would throw my chair in the back and drive me to the city. I would do the test and come back. They did one where they put me in like this seat and they put my foot in a thing where they jerked it, like really violently kind of jerked my foot up, and then they had a bunch of leads on me testing my spasms with it. They broke my ankle when they did
wow.
it. And now, like if I have a time where I'm running all the time and I don't get, I sleep probably about 6.5 hours a night. That's about what I need. And but I need to be in bed for like 8 or 9 because the feet swelling thing.
Yeah.
But right now my right leg foot swells up more than my left one does from that situation.
I've got one bad leg that swells up, and I think it's from, I used to catch for my kids when they would pitch, and my one leg used to get hit all the time, and it will never
Damage the blood vessels or something
yeah.
like that,
Yeah,
that
big
sort of
time.
thing. Right now, so I'll have weekends where sectionals I had to go down for the boys, and I talked to a couple people that you know, able-bodied people, and I'm like, they're like, what are you going to do? And I go, I just jump in the van with pack my bag, and I go.
Right.
And if I have to bring a shower chair, then I get in my power chair and I load my shower chair myself in the back of the van, and then I go. And they're like, you drive 5 hours by yourself to a hotel, get out, go to a hotel, and then get a room. And I'm like, yeah, because I'm a grown-ass man. And they're like, with no one with you. And I'm like, yeah, no one's with me. And they're like, now I feel bad for opening every door for you. And I'm like, well, I don't mind you opening the damn door for me. That's fine. But you shouldn't assume that I can't function on my own as far as that goes. Now, there are things freedom-wise that I see that's geared towards what you're talking about. When I used to go to Canada on a fly-in trip. And it was, you drove 18 hours. Well, we would drive like 10, hotel it, and then drive the other 8. And it was to the end of roads. So like there are no more roads. Just a couple logging roads that make it in and out. You're not driving those in your car. And then they put you on a pond jumper, and you go another 110 miles north of there, and they dump you off in a cabin that your cabin has 6 lakes. So you're on a big lake, and then there's portages where you can like walk, through the woods a little bit. Maybe, the most like 4 blocks, half a mile where you walk. And I used to just grab the motor off, throw the motor on my shoulder, grab the gas can, and to the next lake, throw it on the boat that's there, and then go fishing. I miss that terribly. I miss being able to just all-terrain go anywhere. Now, with what you do, like you were showing me, and there's videos on YouTube, the freewheel setup, and it was pretty neat. Like these guys, there were guys that were doing the videos, and they were quads. So like the guy was totally, really no hand function, and he showed you what he could do in the grass. It was shit. And I'm actually not that bad in the grass. Like I can make it through there pretty good as long as it's not super terrainy.
Right.
But this guy put that freewheel on there, and he was like all over the place.
Especially
like,
when you start to deal with, sticks or branches being around and other things. It really does free you up.
Right. The freewheel thing, what it is it's a one wheel. Our casters are anywhere from 3 to 8 inch casters on the front of a thing. And if anyone's ever been on a skateboard and you hit a really nice piece of gravel, and you flew off the skateboard because the thing stopped dead right there, or roller skates, something like that. It's like that, right? So you're in this chair, the little tiny casters hit a branch or something like that, and it stops. You got to do wheelie to get over that thing and then keep going. The back wheel's no problem. This is like a 12-inch
Right.
wheel in the front. It's on a bracket that they've got it where it's tilted. So when it's folded out, your chair is on the ground. When it folds back in like a caster does, it actually picks you up.
Yeah.
So your front little caster wheels are a couple inches off the ground, and you just bust over stuff. Then you're essentially on a trike. You got your three-wheel.
Exactly, but you can stay in your wheelchair. It mounts to almost any footrest, and
The quad that had it was mounting it himself.
yeah,
Like, you
I
know.
mean, it really is a nice item that more people should have. It really does open up some of the outdoor areas.
Oh, yeah, no,
that
I
would
bet.
be crazy difficult to get to or through at all. And unlike most items, it's not cheap, unfortunately. But
No, right,
I mean, but that's why we do what we do. I
But it
mean,
looks like a quality thing that's made tough.
yeah, I know a lot of people who use it, and I mean, a couple guys that are probably busting 300 pounds and have them on, and it's durable. It's
Right.
crazy durable.
Right.
But and this is why this is what springs this whole SOAR Outdoors is to help raise money so that we can offer grants to get people this free wheel and get people the equipment they need to get back outdoors. Start
Yeah,
doing
honestly,
things
if
that
I
they
was
need.
camping with that freewheel on there, I would be going.
you'd be totally different.
Yeah, I'd totally go places. And there's some nice spots just by the Kankakee River. Rivers, a lot of times, it's a very gradual, like for a long distance to the
Right.
water and everything else. Now, I've always, you said something that kind of like, I was like, oh, really? I've always stayed super clear of water with my chair. You said that when you did the swim, you just pulled yourself into the water in your regular
Yeah.
chair.
Yeah.
Now, the front little casters, I don't know how you do with yours, but for mine, like I get, and it looks hilarious, but like,
Hair wrapped around.
oh, the hair for the golden retriever. We both have Goldens. But I get a hammer and a chisel or a screwdriver out when those bearings are shot, and I pound them out myself and then pound in with a rubber mallet,
Gotcha.
the new ones. So those are in there. But I know that those get wrecked from snow. Like I get snow packed in there and then they rust out and then they're ruined. So I've been like totally stayed away from water.
I've had the same chair in and out of that lake probably 10 times.
And never didn't rust anything out or
No,
nothing.
not a problem.
Boy, I've been missing out.
Yeah, not a problem. I mean, and basically, to make it as easy as possible, just kind of rolling backwards with help, let the water basically up to the seat level, and just flop over the side, and you're in. And you can get out almost the same way.
I've only been swimming 3 times, but it's by far the best freedom I've ever had with the
totally
chair
is.
because you're now I'm sort of weightless. You can move around as you want to. I mean, everything with the wheelchair thing is it's a pain in the ass. Like I got a king size bed that I get on, and the dresser's on the other side of the bed because the bedroom here is small compared to my last place. So when I get on the bed, like I got to army crawl all the way over there, get the Catholic kit, get my clothes for the day, all the other stuff. That's a pain in the ass. Swimming is great. Oh man, I'm moving everywhere without doing a thing.
Oh, it is.
Like I think the 200 years in the future from here, they're gonna have to figure out some like anti-gravity shit for a guy that's apparently they don't figure out how to fix a spinal cord by then. But so I'm gonna, with your advice, I'm gonna like definitely be swimming a lot more.
Yeah,
because,
no, we've used the same chair. We'll hose it off afterwards. I mean, that'd be the only thing I tell somebody. So, you get out and you got sand on you, and we hose it off, and I have not had an issue with it. It's the same chair for 3-4 years.
The other thing nice about the swimming is if you got a girlfriend, the chair thing, like I said, the isolation is tough. Now, most of the girls I've dated, they're sitting on my lap riding around all the time like that anyway. But it's nice to get close to someone and be mobile too, sort of a thing. Like I've got that standing frame. Like I like to stand up. I'm 6 foot tall, and it's weird when I stand up because people are like, geez, you're a lot taller than you look, because when they got you crunched in the chair. But I'm still in this contraption that nobody can get near me, sort of a thing. Like I've taken pictures where I got my arms around my boys and stuff like that. But like I think I surely did, and my sons surely did miss out on, wrestling with them, like getting on the mat and rolling around. with
I
them.
get it, because I've come from a very touchy, I wrestled with my dad as a kid, boxed with my dad as a kid, played
Yep.
football with my dad as a kid, played basketball, one-on-one. I still play one-on-one with my kids. They just have a little easier time beating me. But I remember the first couple times my kids fell somewhere, and I was, get up. No, just get up. And I probably looked like a bitter guy in a wheelchair, but I couldn't pick them up.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I
right,
couldn't
right.
physically pick up my
Sure,
kid.
sure.
So they had to learn to pick
Right,
themselves
right.
up and then come over me, and then I can get my arm around you and throw you on my lap
Sure.
and see what's wrong. But when my kids fell when they were little, it was get up.
Yeah, and I think that is some of the things like the arm around you, like you were saying. For me, like I remember times where a parent or something was sitting next to me on the couch and they had their arm around me and everything else. With these damn wheels next to me, I'm never in that situation. I would go to wrestling tournaments. My son started when they were 6. I'd see parents in the stands with their kids on their laps or the kids next to them. I'm never that guy. I almost felt like, man, are my kids going to have a disconnect physically from, because I grew up in the same kind of family. My grandfather, oh my God, this guy, my grandmother was Irish, tough, really tough woman. She was not the most kissy, touchy person in the world, but my German grandfather, holy shit. This guy, the first time I went to Canada with the guy, I was like 12 or 13 years old. I didn't know what the situation was. Come on, get into bed right here. And I mean, this guy wanted to sleep like spooning with me. And I'm like, oh my God, there's my grandfather like right next to me. You know what? I was used to it. I liked it. The guy was a terrific guy. I didn't care. But like my kids have never had that situation with me because it's a big pain in the ass. And then the other thing is with me, like clothes are an encumbrant thing. So like sleeping wise, I don't know how you do it, but I sleep buck naked. Like I'm naked every time I go to bed.
Same way.
Yeah, right. Because I want to be able to roll over, do everything I want to do, and not be like trying to mess with fucking clothes. So I'm not sleeping with my fucking kids naked. So
No, right.
if I go to a hotel with the kids, I bring a pair of boxer briefs.
Right, exactly. But
and I
no
work it that
shirt,
way.
no,
Nope,
I don't want to deal with it.
Right.
The only thing that stays on me are my socks because I'm too lazy to take them off and put them on.
There you go.
So,
But so yeah, so the camping stuff's awesome. I'm going to put on the YouTube video. I'm going to be putting the link to the store thing, and then I talked to you on the phone. I have not had the time. You sent me the email. Is there so there's a place that they're going to go to sponsor me or to make a donation?
yeah, there's a link, and I'll show it to you, and you'll be able to put that on Facebook, or if you send out, like I said, I've got people that have been awesome with supporting SOAR, but they're not Facebook people. So I kind of do it in 3 different ways. I'll send out emails to people that I know that aren't Facebook people. Mm-hmm. I'll also put it on Facebook, and then the other thing I'll do, and it's amazing, technology has come along, is I'll text it to some people, and it's amazing the people that will answer a text right away. And then, believe it or not, I'll have probably send out 50 pieces of snail mail to other people, because they're not on their computer a lot. They don't look at Facebook. And these people are in their 50s, 60s. They're not, it's not like they're 90 years old, but just to reach them snail mail in case I miss them through Facebook.
Now, you said, when you got here today, you said something about finishing. I didn't realize we were competing either.
No, that's my thing. Everything I do is a competition.
Right, that's my thing.
Know that.
That's my thing.
Right. So
I do this app for German. It's called Duolingo, and they set you so I started doing it. I liked it because it's like phrases and stuff like that. It's just a game that I'm playing. Then I realized that they are having you compete in a pool with 50 people, and it's a week. So you're like scoring points for things. And oh fuck if I'm not first every goddamn time, because I mean I have a whole strategy on it. Like I'll do it where I sneak right up on somebody, and then right before the time lap, the end is then I jump ahead of them. If I jump ahead of them before that, they'll try and jump way ahead of me. I try and sandbag a little bit, stay right behind them, and then boom, hit first place. So, but that has made it that I'm probably doing my German language for 2 hours a day, where I'm trying to get those points because I'm. I want to be.
So
I'm competitive as
we're
can
not
be.
Technically competing against each other.
You're saying that
because
we
actually
are.
One of the guys that's going to do it is from Texas, and he is coming down to Kentucky and doing I think it's a 5K, a timed 5K. But I mean, for me, I like you. I'm very competitive, but for me, it's competing against myself. Mm-hmm. I mean, ultimately, I've got to be the best I can be.
And
And
really with the
if
chair
Bill's a
thing-
better Bill than me, if Bill can do more than me, that's great. I want to try to catch that. But if as long as I did better than what I can, I got to just keep pushing myself.
Yeah, right. And I mean, there's no way to do that comparison with people that are in chairs anyway, because
No.
if, like we had talked last time, the difference between me and a guy that's a para is the difference in the para and the guy
No.
walking around. So, like, I got in an argument on Facebook with one of your para friends who was, boy, that dude is jacked. Holy cow, it's a big guy. But he's para, obviously. You can
Yeah.
see it on him, sort of a thing. So, like, me to compete with him would be,
No.
like, that's impossible.
No, it doesn't solve anything. I mean, and we both are very competitive. Most of the people I know that are involved, whether they're in a wheelchair or not, are mostly competitive people, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's as long as you keep it healthy. But for me, I want to be able to try to push myself, and I haven't. I know you're doing 7 or 8 miles already riding. This Sunday I went out, it was nice. It was 50 degrees, sun was out. I only got about 3 miles in, but I know what I got to do to get where I need to go.
Yeah, so for me it works out that, because like I said, I do that workout where it's like 4 days worth of working out. There's 7 days in a week. So some weeks I'm hitting 8 miles, other weeks I'm hitting 16. The average is that I do about 12 miles a week in the chair. Now, there are times where real estate's for me is starting to heat up. I'm starting to get busy, and
awesome.
I don't have the time to get, because it takes hours to do this, and I don't get my miles in. But I'm bummed about that situation, and I will find ways to try
to make it up in the gym. Try to make it up
I would
in-
take my boys to practice in Indiana. The way that their practice was, it was in a gym, and there was a hallway around the outside of the gym in the school. I would just do that hallway. Just keep doing it. Hour and a half. They're at practice. I'm doing an hour and a half of this, and that's what I'm going to do. And it really, what it does a lot of times for me, it affords me to go get that mint chocolate chip ice cream afterwards,
yeah.
because I'm not going to live my life where I don't eat fried chicken, or I don't eat what I want to eat, or
So
all that
everything
kind
in
of stuff.
moderation, and trying to staying busy is just so key, not just physically, mentally. So the whole idea of this is to get a bunch of us together, and most of them are pairs, but we've had more people join, and to have people get out and push themselves that day and try to raise money for an organization that donates every penny that comes in right back out to making people accessible to the outdoors. So whether it's, we're buying accessible equipment like the freewheel, whether it's helping somebody buy a hand trike, whether it's helping somebody buy an attachment to a fishing reel so that they could actually use it,
Sure.
whatever it may be, or, sponsoring them so they could go to this camp possibility or go to the camp that you went to. So all the money goes, and it goes out quick, as you can imagine. Nothing's cheap.
I'll tell you what you're talking about is, it seems like it's just a thing you're doing, but it's huge. My sons, we had a pontoon boat, and I would go on the boat. In Illinois, if you're a handicapped person, you don't need a license to fish, so you can just fish. But I would go out on the boat and really not fish. And the reason I wouldn't fish was because I fished at, like, we used to joke, like, I got a bunch of guys that fish that I'm friends with. There's guys that are what I consider fishermen and guys that fish. I was a fisherman. I was super serious. If I didn't outfish everybody, I did something wrong today, and I better readjust my situation. And I was never a guy that was like, made excuses like they're not biting today. No, they're not responding to the techniques you're using. Fish eat every damn day. You're doing the wrong things to change. So the level of fishing that I did before I was injured, I couldn't. It's like kissing my sister now to
I know.
fish.
You're not going to get up into the deep woods of Canada, probably in our situation.
No.
And once
But-
you've experienced that, I've been to Canada only once fishing. Once you experience that, there's nothing like it. As
Sure.
you
Well,
know.
when I say that too, like I went to Canada 2 or 3 times a year. That was my thing. Like I would save up to be a week, and I would go. I went 1 week with my friends, 1 week with my father, and 1 week with my father-in-law. So we would go spring, fall, and then sometime in the summer. And then the summer when I'd switch up, maybe go to northern Minnesota. Just another fishing trip that I would take. And it was a way to like just remove my brain from work for the week
Sure.
and do what I was doing. But we went to Canada. On the way up there, for flying where there was no muskies, but there was northern pike. And my father-in-law at the time said, he goes, well, we had a muskie fisherman up here, and a guy that was as serious as you, and he goes, you're probably going to catch 5 or 6 northern pike over 36 inches during the week. And I looked at it and I go, hey, I don't care. There's going to be water, woods, rocks, trees, eagles. I'm going to have a fine time. It doesn't matter how the fishing is. He goes, the fishing's going to be great. He goes, but this other guy, McDermott, caught 6 fish over 36 inches. I'm like, that's fine. The first day that we got there, you get to the flyout post at 9 a.m. They drop you off at noon at the cabin, and then you've got until about 6 o'clock that evening to fish the first day. So only 6 hours. I had 5 fish over 36 inches in the 6 hours. By the end of the week, I had 28 fish over 36 inches. I had a 44-inch northern pike, which was the biggest one that they had seen. And then I had a 11-pound, which is on the wall there, 8-pound walleye.
That's nice
that I caught also. And by the end of the week, my father-in-law looked at me and goes, you're just an asshole. You're just showing off now. And I'm like, I studied what we were doing. We were coming up here in the last week of May. I brought things that slow rolled. I brought things that I could take out of a fish quick and get back in the water. I'm serious about this shit. But I was that serious about it. And when I got paralyzed, people were like, well, why don't you figure out this and figure out this? And I'm like, you know what? I'm never going to obtain that level that I was at. So why don't I just focus on getting my kids fishing, which I did. I had fun. My son's, my one boy's biggest muskie is 47 inches. He's got a real nice muskie. The other guy I think is 39 is his biggest. And for my birthday last year, they bought me the thing that mounts to the spinning rod. Okay. And I had a bunch of times in the pontoon boat, picked up a spinning rod with my spatula hands and tried it. It looked terrible. It was bad.
I know, I've been there.
That frickin' thing, though, I can cast it all the way.
Yeah.
I mean, a good 50 yards. I'm throwing that bait. And I'm like, oh my God, I should have done this before. Like, this was stupid.
Well, and that's why I spend so much time talking to different people in mentoring them or creating fellowship in whatever their need is because after 40 years, I'm aware of a lot of things that some people aren't. Like dragging your chair into the water without really damaging it.
Right.
I mean,
well, that's going to...
maybe because it's not salt water.
Right, just from you telling me that, though, it's going to get me to go do it.
Yeah.
And if you take a guy out and you get... My son's bought me that thing, and I felt so stupid that I did not buy this thing 10 years ago. You know how many times I was in Minnesota on a boat where I could have been fishing and I didn't fish? I was just sitting there watching my kids do it. I mean, I never would have attained the level I was at. But if you're just getting a guy, I know, but mental block
but you've already been there, and and once like you mentioned, once you get your kids out there, I mean, you want them to obtain what you've done. I mean, absolutely. Watching them catch a fish is more exciting than ever you catching a fish.
I think that's guy to guy though. My dad was not a guy that wanted you to. I almost threw my dad in the lake the one time when we were in Canada at Eagle Lake because we gambled on everything. So we bet on first fish of the day, we bet on biggest fish of the day, most fish of the day, most of this species, all that stuff. So we had like $1 in for everything, right? At the end of the day. Well, at the end of the week, I had most of the money. And, like somebody caught the first fish before me at some point. But I was also the guy driving the boat the entire week too, and I was out fishing everybody. I made some cocky comment at the end of the week, that I've got most of you guys' money. And he was pissed off. Like he was, kind of lost it with me. And, my dad was not a guy that wanted you to outdo him ever. That was not his thing. I'm the opposite. My son sees pictures of me when I was younger and I was lifting weights and I was big and muscular. And their physiology, they're a little bit behind me as far as like development-wise. They didn't get puberty till like junior year, summer, where I probably got it like after freshman year. By the time I was a senior, I could grow a beard. They're still like, shaving their little chin whiskers, and they're already going to be out of high school. So my one boy's like, when am I going to catch you? And I go, son, if it's up to me, you're going to catch me and then pass me.
Oh, my gosh.
You're going to get way past me, man. Don't worry
I hope my kids do. I mean, it won't bother me one bit. Right. I mean, I'm not here to compete with them.
Not with
them. I will make it as difficult as possible when we still do different things together. We go out skeet shooting. I don't want my kid to beat me.
Now, how do you do that? Because that's my next thing. Because I just bought the boys shotguns for Christmas, and there's supposed to be an indoor skeet shooting place coming to either Wilmington or Coal
Oh,
City.
I never heard of that.
I don't know, but I want to go there because obviously if it's indoor, it's going to be
Yeah.
totally accessible. And then there's also the Kankakee area, Kankakee and I think the Des Plaines area. Both have us just an open field
Right,
spot.
where you could bring
Just
your
set
own clays.
Yes, right.
They have a machine there. You bring your own clays.
How do you do a shotgun with no torso control?
I put a strap on the front of it
Okay.
so I could put my left hand in it because I can't grab it.
Yeah.
And then I just cheek it real well. Now I could only swing
Yeah.
a brief,
Right,
so
right,
I
right,
gotta
right.
I gotta shoot quick.
Yep.
So I get it up there and I get it cheeked and get on it and just
How are
swing
you
it.
pulling the trigger?
I just stick my whole finger in there and pull it back.
Yeah. No misfires, nothing like that ever
No.
happened? Right. I've gone out shooting, bench shooting only though. So like I've got the 22 or
Yeah.
223 and I'm shooting from a bench and that I can do. And I'll go ahead and switch up and go left-handed because on my left hand, my ring finger, I can actually just pull the trigger.
Oh, there you
So,
go. Yeah.
for me, that's because, when I was taught to shoot, you don't actually want to pull it. You want to squeeze the trigger.
Yeah, no, I'm jerking.
Right.
I mean,
right,
which is
right.
not good, and that's what's really bad for target shooting. But on a moving clay, it doesn't hurt as bad.
Yeah.
As long as I can stay in-
Shotgun, you're shooting
yeah.
a pattern anyway.
Yeah,
so-
exactly, and stay in front of it. But I've been pheasant hunting. I went out pheasant hunting, and
How'd you do that?
fantastic.
No, but like, what was the scenario?
So they went out and they'd spin the pheasant, kind of knock it out, plan
Oh, okay,
'em.
so you did
They
cage
put-
birds.
they plan 'em.
Got it. I've
And-
never done that in
and
my
then
life.
it's-
Even
it's-
before I was walking around, I've never shot
really
a cage
fun.
bird.
And then, so I mean, they're wild birds, but so they don't get up and run or get up and fly.
Got it.
Basically, they spin them around and then they plan them and they'll stay down. And then they have a dog. So I was on a side by side, sitting in the front, had the shotgun. Dog was probably about 20, 25 yards ahead of us. And once it would slow up, we'd kind of creep up to it, and then they would give it a signal. It would go point and then scare the bird up,
Okay.
and then just try to get on it. And
Yeah.
I got 3 pheasant. So
That's
I went
great.
with my son, my oldest son Spence, and something else I would love to do 10 times a summer. It's an awesome time. Where we went, and they cleaned them. We had pheasant stew for lunch. Just a great experience with your kids, like anything.
Yeah. No, where was that?
different-
'Cause I would take my kids there in a heartbeat. Now and then they run that in the summer when it's not. So
No,
then
during pheasant season.
Oh, during
so
pheasant
it was
season. Okay, fall.
probably, yeah. Trying to remember when that was.
End of
it
September. I think
Was, it
it's
was
October is when they're.
not. We caught a decent day, and it was probably like in the 50s, sunny, which isn't a bad day. So
Yeah.
but I could get out and do. I loved it. I wish I could do more of it. It's
The
just,
guy that I met when I first got paralyzed, Wally Ridgway, he would hunt from his car because it's legal. in
right? Yeah,
Illinois
you
for
can
to
get a
shoot from your-
standing
right.
vehicle permit.
Right, shooting from your vehicle, and he would drop off the other guys the mile away. They would walk the mile, and then when the birds came out, he would shoot them at the road. Which, like for me, I kind of shied away from it because hunting to me, I enjoyed everything up to killing the thing. Like, and I never had a problem with killing it, but even though I was hunting since I was 6 years old. Like we started out, my dad put the little 410 shell in my pocket, and then the next year I was allowed to put the shell in the gun, but not cock that. Like everything was like a step up. So I've been doing it a long time. I've shot a lot of, everything: geese, ducks, pheasants, squirrels, rabbits, all that stuff. I got 18 coyotes in 1 year.
Wow.
The one time. I never had a problem with killing something, except for I always got a twinge. I don't care if it was the last pheasant I shot or the first pheasant I shot. I always thought to myself, this animal was doing whatever it was doing, all on its own, eating, living, and then I came along today and I took it. Now I'm going to eat it, so it makes a difference. But I always had that twinge. And I hunted.
What about fishing?
I don't
Fish are
kill
down
them.
there doing anything, doing
don't
their
kill
own
them.
thing.
I don't kill them.
What about those ones on the wall?
So
they don't look too alive to me.
So the muskie that's on the wall up there, that's a 49-inch muskie out of Lake Kincaid in southern Illinois. And I was down there with a guide, and it was 96 degrees that day. We put the fish back. It swam off just fine. The way we do with muskies is we take these Knipex bolt cutters. They're awesome German-made bolt cutters that cut through a double odd hook like butter. Just and then, so when we bring the fish to the side of the boat and it's got all the treble hooks in its face, net it, put it in the net, and then we just go in there. We don't even pull the treble hooks out. Cut them all. They fall out of its face. Super, super careful with it. We get the camera set up. If you're going to put a muskie hunter hat on, whatever you're going to do, you're all ready to go. I had that fish on video out of the water 33 seconds for pictures. Put it back. She swam off. We have the video of it swimming off. We were in the bay putting new treble hooks on the baits, and the DNR guy comes back there, and he knew the guy. And he said, "Hey, there's a really big muskie off that point struggling." And I'm like, "No." And he's like, "Yeah, it's like over 4 feet, or it's right around 4 feet." We went out there with my damn fish. We spent 3 hours. I got in the water, swam below the thermocline with the fish in between my legs, trying to get it to get oxygen, and couldn't get it done. We took it. The guide that I had was Chad Kane. He's supposed to be on the podcast, but he's terrific. He had a fishery biology degree, so he knew everything about the fish from everything. He had a 50-inch live well on the side of his boat. It was a muskie boat, and it had a jet that pumped air and water and everything. We put it in there, trying to get it flowing. Couldn't do it. So he's like, we both felt bad because a muskie's got scales on it that have rings like a tree. You tell exactly how old it is. That fish is 17 years old.
Oh, wow.
Took 17 years to grow it that big. Every muskie in Illinois is stocked. They can't breed. They go through the motions of it, but because of the way that it is here, they silt in. It's because muskies aren't like bass. Bass, they spawn and then the male sits there and cleans the nest and keeps it. Muskies spawn and go right back out to do what they were doing. Everything dies. So they live in flowages and stuff up in Wisconsin because there's a sandy bottom and everything's moving. I felt terrible. Chad's like, "Listen, you're going to have to just honor the fish, get it mounted, put it on the wall." So that's the only muskie I've ever had mounted. It was that one that we lost. And I refrained from then ever fishing in the summertime. I would shut it down once it got to be too hot out. I'm not doing that anymore.
Jacques Cousteau would be impressed.
Well, I'm just saying, my thing was I enjoy catching that fish. That's the only fish I fish for, right?
So and then release. I mean, once you get the pictures and you get everything, you've got it.
Now, when we were in Canada, we caught that walleye. That fish, that we eat that constantly, right? Because here in Canada, it's the most wonderful
shore lunch.
Right, shore lunch.
Best you'll ever have.
It's just terrific. But when I caught that fish, my father-in-law at the time was like, "I've been coming up here for 6 years, and I've always wanted to catch a big walleye." So I kept it, and I kept that one walleye. The bass that's on the wall is an 8-pound bass that was caught muskie fishing also on a huge muskie bait right at boatside, and it was beautiful. I called my wife at the time, and I'm like, "I don't bass fish, but it's really pretty." She goes, "Well, keep it." And I'm like, "All right," so I did. So those are the 3 fish that I've killed as far as that goes.
Those are nice fish.
Right, but otherwise, I don't kill them. I would kill crappies and bluegills if I caught them to eat, sort of a thing. But again,
Sure.
I'm eating them, so I'm not feeling that bad. But I still, in my own lake here, it's 10 acres. It was a quarry. It's kind of deep. I stock it, so I kind of do feel bad, if I kill something. I have the fish that are in the tank here. These are from the lake too, and the idea with them was they were small when I put them in there. I'm saving them through the winter. They're growing. This spring I'll put them back in the lake. Hopefully they spawn and all that other stuff.
Nice.
But so not everybody has your adventurous spirit as far as that goes. I do know guys in chairs that don't get out.
Oh, I know quite a few.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
I just don't want to undermine the fact that the service that you're providing is huge. It could be life changing for somebody. There's people that went on that
100%.
camping trip that were down in the dumps,
Yes.
feeling bad. So I'm peddling for sponsors on this. Is what I'm talking about. The people that donate the money are what is the lifeblood of what
Totally
keeps
it
things
is.
going
Yes,
on
exactly.
for SOAR. So.
Yep.
My plan is, until I found out we were competing, I'm going to have to do a little more miles.
Well,
I'm kidding, Brian.
No, you could arrest. You're going to wipe me out. Don't worry about it. I mean, you're in great shape. Look at that. I mean, your hands work. I take a couple weeks off.
So, yeah, there you go. But my plan is to do 10 miles and then, get as many sponsors as I can to get money thrown that way. And then my other goal, like I said, is to try and train enough to get to the point where I could do that triathlon.
And we'll get you a free wheel. I just think you'll do.
Now, how when I was looking at that, I asked you about that too. It doesn't look like it would help me on the street.
It does.
It does.
It will
Yeah?
roll way better than those casters.
Really?
Oh, big
Okay.
time.
Okay.
Big
Yeah,
time.
I can't
It's
wait
like
to try
going
it out.
backwards.
Check it out.
It'd be like going
Okay.
backwards.
Okay.
You know how going backwards on the pavement
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
so
Yeah.
much easier.
Sure,
Because you got
sure.
the big wheels in back.
Right,
Same
right.
thing. Even though it's only 12 inches versus those casters.
Yeah.
Or any of our casters, it makes it.
Well, my problem with my casters are I need to tighten them up because they do a thing where they do that wobble.
Oh.
So
yeah.
I'm busting
Shopping
downhill.
cart wobble. Oh yeah.
Exactly. And I always mess with my kids. If there's a hill somewhere, like I'm always throwing my hands in the air like I'm out of control. And then
You go to brake and all of a sudden you start to wobble.
all those things, and it totally stops me like
It's all
bad.
the darn dog hair we get in them, and
The dog hair,
Oh.
for sure. I mean, there's times where, like my hands work slightly better than yours, but my hands are shit. I throw myself on the couch, and then I start to dismantle my chair with the tools, and I mean, I've got like donuts of dog hair
Oh, yeah.
on the sides there. It's terrible. I've done it where I've gone somewhere where there's hills, and the dog hair is a little burnt.
oh yeah,
because-
you smell it.
yeah,
you can almost smell
right,
it.
right,
yeah,
from the rotations.
but I mean, your point. We are the exception to the average quad.
Absolutely. And I mean, I was super impressed with you when I had you on last time. I don't know if I could, the longevity that you've had. I mean, there's lots of guys that have had skin issues. First, the skin issues are the biggest.
It's a kiss of death.
Yes. I dated a therapist that worked at RIC, and I think that was her biggest fear.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that you would get a skin issue, because it's a kiss of death.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
all of a sudden we're relegated to this thing. If we get 8 inches of snow, I got to stay in. I'm not going to go anywhere. The problem is that I go out with my friends for lunch. They've pushed all the snow onto the stripes, so I can't get out of my
Yeah,
damn van.
they do.
Right.
Oh, 100%.
Terrible. And if they don't do that, then it's snowed enough where every moron in the world parks on the stripes anyway,
Yeah.
because they can't see them. So I'm relegated inside for that, and that bothers me enough, let alone if I had some massive lap surgery that had to go on to cover that up, and I was off, like, I don't know how you kept it together for 4 months with the broken femurs. I don't know how
Yeah.
that's something that a Buddhist monk would have, like, respect for you for the fact that you got through, because
And
it ain't easy.
especially knowing that I do not sit still very well. And anybody who knows me will attest to that. I just do not sit well for any length of time. I'm fidgety, I'm moving, I'm doing something, my mind's always going. So that was torturous. I mean, that was
Oh, God.
on top of the fact that even though we don't feel pain, like my legs didn't hurt, getting, a bit of autonomic dysreflexia,
Yep.
and the pain that comes in other ways. So I sweat for the first time. I mean, really sweat from the pain, and nothing worked. The pain meds, nothing worked on me because of the spinal cord injury.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I had the fentanyl patch, did absolutely nothing. I had almost any kind of med you could think of at home, and it just didn't do anything. So it wasn't just laying there, then it was laying there trying to mentally deal with the pain.
And you're restricted on the positions you can be in and everything
Back.
else. Yeah,
My back.
that was it. Oh God,
Back.
that's crazy. I enjoy to get on the bed and get on my stomach and, like, I don't know, do some, like, quad yoga where I'm like totally stretching
Just-
my
yep.
my
Your
abdomen,
hip
my hip
flexors,
flexors.
your
Oh,
yep.
right.
And
I mean, I'll
occasion-
spend an hour just jacking
Yeah.
around with that stuff like
And
that.
we should. I mean, anybody in a chair should
Right,
get
right.
to their stomach and spend some time, especially stretching out your hip flexors, your ab.
Well, the other one that we do, I don't know how you are with it, but we're always kind of like hunched forward a little bit too. Like you're using your head for balance.
yeah.
I like to get in a chair that I can, like, I don't have tippers on, so I can't, if I do that, my chair's balanced enough right now that if I throw my head back, I'll go back.
Yeah.
But if I'm in my shower chair, if I can pull up to a counter and get my knees locked in there and just stretch out my neck in a way, oh, it feels so good. Stretch out my chest where I can, like, get it
That's
spread
how
out.
reference over. Monica will do that. She'll grab my arms and just pull 'em, my shoulders, pull them back, and it's like you could just feel it opening.
Yeah, right.
Oh, my gosh.
And I mean, when I do my miles, I get a little winded too because our depth of breath is shit too. Like I
it is.
I don't know what I take. I know it was measured when I was in the hospital, but I want to say it was low, like
30?
25%
Yeah.
of what somebody normally breathes in, because your diaphragm doesn't work the same way. So like you've got all these restrictions, then you've got restrictions with the terrain and everything else. So like all the respect in the world for people to get people out there. The camping trip that I went on, absolutely, guys, it was like 3 or 4 days. I think you had the choice to do 3 or 4 days. There were definitely guys that by the end of the weekend were like had a different attitude. They did not think they could do it. They'd be there, their wives or their kids were doing everything for them in the first day, and then they'd be like, "Oh, let me try. Let me get a little something." Some people like. I talked to a couple of people that one woman's dad was in his 60s and he got paralyzed, and she goes, it was a death sentence. He died. He just died from that sort of thing. I think that it's so tough, and then they've run into the first little bit more adversement.
That's all you have in front of you.
Right.
Coming out of the rehab, everybody thinks is awesome, but that is when shit hits the fan. I mean, the rehab is the easy part.
Right,
I mean,
right.
you get out there and, as you well know, into the real world, it is way uglier than being in the rehab. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's nice to be back. There's no place like home. There's no place around family.
And that's
to
also
suffer.
changed a lot,
However,
too. Now, did you do rehabs? Where'd you do rehab at?
at RIC, Rehabilitation
So
Institute
way
of
back when you
Chicago.
were 16, 17 years old, that you were doing it there?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, how was it? Because I'm told the structure is completely different there now than it was 10 years before I was there. And that would only be
probably
27
is,
years.
if you think
Well,
about
they said
it.
they were doing like home visits where they would let you go home for the weekend, see how you would do, and then come bring you back. And,
I went home probably 3 weeks before I was going to be released.
right.
You know, so it was probably 2.5 straight months without going home.
Oh, I was there for 4 months, and the way that was structured when I was there, if you went home and could stay for the weekend home, insurance wanted you out of there. They wanted you to be at home now because that was it. Like if you can manage at home, then you can manage at home. So they were like, don't go home, because if you go home and you can manage, the insurance is going to want you to be at home.
I lived in a raised bungalow. Going home and spending a weekend didn't mean you managed. I mean, we didn't have a bathroom I could get into. We had we built a ramp on the front of the house that the pitch was, you could have skied down. So, but you're right, the insurance companies wanted you out of there, but you weren't getting that kind of therapy.
No,
you know,
well,
you weren't going
I had
3-4 classes where, you know, some 2 guys could get you out of your chair, get you on the ground. They'd be ranging you. They'd be, you know, all the things you did. You could mimic most of that at home, but at that point in your injury,
Well, my OT was from Australia, and she said that in her country, she was here like interning just to like see how everything worked here, learn whatever she could from the American system. But she said if you were in Australia, you would be in the rehab institute over a year, learning everything. And I think that it's harder on your family to send a guy home that's not ready to go home. The paras I had a para that was a roommate, he was in there for 2 weeks. They pretty much taught him like wheelchair mobility and stuff and said, you're on your own, man, get out of here.
but you know what life would be with your hands.
It would be amazing. It really would.
Let
I'm telling you
alone
what.
balance.
Yeah, balance.
I'll throw balance.
Right.
I
would
my
for
gosh,
sure
come on.
be a guy that would seatbelt into my seat and doing pull-ups
Oh,
with
my
the
gosh,
chair
yeah.
strapped to my ass because
You'd be back up in Canada fishing.
Right,
You'd be-
no, I was-
honestly,
right.
it's a life changer. It's
I'm
a
going to get
game
up to
changer.
Canada pretty soon. I'm blessed with the boys being as athletic and strong as
Yeah,
they
it's
are.
nice.
We're going to get up there and do that. My problem is I moved to this place on the lake. Where I was at before, I had the pontoon boat, and the pontoon boat was great. There's only a couple brands of pontoon boats that have wide enough gate for a guy in a chair to bust into those. And we would just take out the chair, and I would drive from the,
Nice. Oh, yeah.
boat's the only thing that's not, you don't need your feet anyway. No. So drove the boat and everything else. There was a couple times I'd like to get out of this chair. I kept the captain's seat in there, and they would transfer in there, and then just take the chair and pitch it out. The problem is you can't get around the boat then.
Right,
You're stuck
unless you leave your chair there. But
Not
once you
enough
get
room.
in the captain's chair, I drive from a captain's chair in my van.
Right.
I don't drive from my wheelchair. It is so comfortable.
Comfortable, correct.
Oh my god! And it's great for pressure relief. Now I gotta get out of my chair, so it's a little exercise to get out of my chair into the captain's chair. You're sitting different. Everything's different, and that's good for pressure source. But no, I appreciate you having me on again. And I
Hey,
look
brought me
forward
a
to...
nice hat and so a couple T-shirts, which I generally keep everything. I'm not a hat wearing guy most of the time, unless it's out fishing or something for the sun. But I always keep everything on the table here that people bring me. But I'm going to be putting the link up there. Besides subscribing to the YouTube channel and everything else with the podcast, please donate. Brian's connected with me on Facebook. You posted on my timeline the one thing.
Yeah.
And I'm going to figure out how to get, I'll do the text thing with everyone else that's not on there. And I'll send it out my office and stuff too for the real estate office. But, let's see if we can raise some money for some other guys that could use a hand. And, the paralysis thing, we're talking about guys that are paralyzed at their waist being a completely other world than we are. There's guys that are tetraplegics. That's a whole nother game where you can't move a thing. So, I know a guy in Oregon that's got a foundation that he's paralyzed from.
Well, that was Christopher Reeves. He had to be on a ventilator. I think he broke C1.
Hangman's,
really high.
right.
I can't even imagine that. So as much, I've been in quad 40 years, I still feel blessed.
Yeah.
It could be worse. As you
Always.
well know, it could be worse.
Right.
And, it's what you make of it. And,
right. I can be ugly.
Right. That's why you got a hat.
Right. There you go.
That hair's not getting any thicker.
Mine's getting pretty thin too.
That'll keep you from...
I'm a little bit away from getting the Bic razor and just shaving her all off of there. But anyways, I appreciate you being out.
No, and as I told you, I would love to continue doing this because I think we have so much in common, and I think through our words and our actions, we can help more people. And that's really what it's about.
Right. And I like to get the word out on the paralyzed thing because I think I always fight those misconceptions as to what's going on with us as far as that goes. And I like that. Like I said, I wanted to get your wife on and talk to her about...
Her perception would be interesting because...
I didn't even think about it until you said that the last time.
I've been blessed that she's a crazy smart woman because she married me. And is a saint because we've celebrated 30 years of being married, and she has been through the good and the bad and the ugly.
Yeah, right.
And still stays by my side. I don't know how she does it. I honestly don't. I don't know, but her insights are going to be way different than ours.
I see your Facebook post. You're obnoxious.
Oh yeah, no, I am. I am, and I was this way before the accident. People who've known me for 50 plus years will say I was sarcastic. I was the same guy before the accident. I have not changed.
Good.
The same guy after the accident. I'm not an easy person. I'm very, I'm demanding of myself. I'm demanding of my family, of my children, of everybody. But I will give you more than I demand. I just don't think you can be demanding without giving. And I try to live by example. And I push hard with everything, and that's one of the other reasons I wrote one of the books I did. The Quad Father was, I guess I wanted to disturb people's complacency and say, stop feeling sorry for yourself. Get out and start living life. Because I've posted the cure to paralysis. I've got the cure to paralysis. It's not walking. The cure to paralysis is living and thriving, not walking.
Sure.
And there's too many people waiting to walk. And I don't know what you're waiting for because I've had an awesome life. You share story after story with your sons.
Yep.
There are people out there that are walking that don't have half the stories you do about stuff that they've done with their kids, and shame on them.
Right.
That's precious time.
Yep.
You found a way to do it from the chair, so it's out there. It's just how bad you want it, and we're very similar. We both want things. And we just go get them. And if we fail, we fail. That's okay. We get up again.
And
that's I have no problem with failing. It's no big deal at this point.
I get people that think my only focus is to get, like you were saying, cured from paralysis. It's really not. I don't even think about it that much. I think about how I'm going to do something and I get it done. But thanks again. Donate. Like I said, the link will be on the video. Please, sponsor me with the SOAR thing. And, thanks for watching the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Subscribe. Absolutely. Thank you for coming out.